If you've ever had a computer that's been connected to the internet, or maybe you've used email before, now that's most likely going to be every single person that's ever going to watch this video. Then if that's the case, you're at risk for spyware and other infectious, nasty programs that attempt to either bog your computer down with advertisements or tools to try and gather information about you. Things like your surfing habits, your confidential files, and of course, your passwords. Spyware, it's a big problem that over the last couple of years has really gotten bad, and it's spawned a whole new range of programs that are designed to prevent your computer from getting spyware in the first place. And if it does, removing it from your computer if you do happen to be unlucky enough to get infected with it. Windows Defender is Microsoft's answer to this problem, and it's been around for a while as a free download for Windows XP. It then came with Windows Vista, and it's great to see that it's still here in Windows 7. Now the great news is that by default when you first install Windows 7, Windows Defender is automatically started up to protect your computer immediately. So let's go and take a look at what options we have with Windows Defender. So to start it up, we'll go and click the Start button. We'll fire up the Control Panel. But unlike with Windows Vista, and Windows 7 is not as easily found, so what we'll do up the top here is we're going to head up to this little drop-down box here, this View by Category. And if we change this to either small or large icons, let's just go with the large one, and we'll scroll down to the bottom. And over here you can see we have Windows Defender. Now we can either find it that way using this View By, or up the top here when this Search Control Panel box here, we can just type in DEF for Defender, and you're going to also see it listed there. So either way, whichever way you want to fire it up, it really doesn't matter. You've got a couple of options. In fact, if you'd rather not use this control panel at all, we could just close this and we could click Start, and we can just start typing in Defender, and you're also going to see it there. So again, whichever option you decide to use, you can start up Windows Defender using one of these, which of course we'll do now. Okay, now obviously the first thing you're going to notice about this initial window here is that we've got this big orange warning here telling us that we'll need to install the latest definition updates for Windows Defender before we're able to go and scan our computer. And of course that makes sense really, so we're going to click the button over here on the right to check for updates now. Now even though the updates here are going to be pretty small, since this is our first one, it will take a minute or so to download and install these files, so I'm going to pause this video quickly and we're going to come back once this is done. Alright, it's done. Our program's now up to date, and you can see up the top here, it's changed to green. So one of the first things you're probably going to want to do if you decide to venture in to the Windows Defender console here is to kick off your own scans. So let's kick off our first manual scan by clicking up here, the Scan button. Now, as you'd expect, Windows Defender will need to scan our computer, and it could take a minute or so to complete the scan. So again, I'm going to pause that video right now, and we'll come back once this is done. Our scan's now complete, and if everything is normal, as we'd hope it to be, on this home page you're going to see our big green tick here telling us that our PC is running normally and Windows Defender hasn't detected anything nasty. You'll note in the middle of this screen here, we're able to view our scan statistics. We can see our scan we performed was a quick scan, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Our time we started it, how long it took, 35 seconds, pretty quick, and the resources that it scanned. In this case, around 62,000 items, which is kind of quick in 35 seconds. Now down the bottom here of this opening screen, we can see the last time that our computer was scanned. We can see when it's set to scan automatically. Now, by the way, if this PC isn't turned on when this time here, daily around 2 AM, kicks over, that's when this scan is scheduled to run automatically, then the next time we fire up Windows 7, it's going to run our scan automatically in the background. So you don't have to worry that if you don't ever have your PC on at 2 AM that your scan's never going to run. It'll just run the next time you start up your computer, and since it's not very particularly memory or CPU intensive, you probably really won't even know that it's running away in the background. Alright, next we can see that real-time protection is turned on, so any file we download or we run will be checked to see if it contains spyware, which of course is great. And finally, we can see the latest definition version we have, and of course when it was last updated. So at the top of this window here, we can see we've got 5 options, the first being home, which is just going to bring you back to this screen that we're at right now. Scan is where we can start a scan of our PC. History will let us see what Windows Defender has been up to, and we've got tools and a help option. All right, but I'm going to skip through here to the tools section right now. We're going to come back. We'll take a look at these other options in a moment. So here on the tools page, we've got 6 items to look at. Our first is options, and let's give this a click. But whilst you can change the options in here, in most cases you probably won't even bother. Now here we can see that our computer will automatically be scanned, which is recommended, and that's great. It's going to happen every day at 2 a.m. using a quick scan. And like I said earlier, if your computer isn't turned on at this time, in this case 2 a.m., the scan will begin automatically the next time you start your computer. Now before it starts its scan, we could choose to also check with Microsoft to see if there are any updated definitions it can use, and it'll only run a scan when the system's idle. So it's not going to bog down your machine whilst you happen to be actively using it. Now next we have default actions, and in the event that Windows Defender does find spyware or something on our computer that shouldn't be there, it's going to apply these default actions to whatever it finds. And you can see here that all of these show us that it's going to apply the recommended action based on definitions. Well, what does that mean? Well, in order to find out what these default actions are, we'll click this hyperlink here at the top, and that'll open up the Windows help file. And here we can see that for severe or high and our medium alert, and down the bottom we have low alert items. These are all going to be using this default action. So for anything that's been classified by Windows Defender as a severe or a high alert level, the default action is going to be to remove the software immediately. Now if we have a medium alert level, it's not going to delete the software, but it's going to ask us if we're sure we want to keep it. And of course for the low alert level, it's basically going to do the same thing. Now, all of these alert levels are taken from the definitions themselves. So what happens is when your computer's scanned by Windows Defender for any spyware, if it finds something, the definition will check against its database and it will classify the program into one of these categories. And it's going to perform then one of these actions, from removing it to basically doing nothing. So even though our alert levels here are set to just perform the default action, you could change this if you like by setting these to simply remove the files or to quarantine them. But you will take note that down here for our medium alert levels and our low alert levels, we do have the option of allowing the file as well. Okay, well our next option here is real-time protection. And by default, we can see that this is on. We are using real-time protection. I wouldn't imagine why you'd want to turn it off, as it will make Windows Defender actively scan all files and attachments that we download, and as well as programs that we run on our computer, and it's going to do this in real time as you're using them. Next we have excluded files and folders, and here we can set aside file and folder locations that we don't want to be scanned. So if there are files or folders that you absolutely don't want to be scanned by Windows Defender, we'll simply click the Add button. We'll then browse for the file or the folder. So let's just choose a folder here. Okay, let's just choose our sample pictures folder. We'll click OK. We'll add that in. And whatever, of course, we've added into this list, and we can add in more than one, will be excluded from being scanned. The next item, excluded file types. Now this allows us to go one step further and to prevent any file that's a specific file type from being scanned. So if we didn't want Word documents to be scanned, then we'd simply type in up the top here, star.doc, and we can click Add, or perhaps a star.docx, and we'll click Add. And of course we could do that for as many file types as we like. Now under the Advanced heading, which is our next one, we can see that Windows Defender will also scan archive folders and files for potential threats. So those are things like our zip files. We could also scan email and removable drives like USB flash drives, USB hard drives, and memory cards as well. Windows Defender will also try and use heuristics to try and detect any spyware for software that could be potentially flagged as a risk. Now, for those of you that don't know what heuristics means, heuristics from a dictionary standpoint basically means to discover. So this heuristics technology scans file structures to determine if a file has a high probability of being spyware. Now, obviously, this isn't an exact science. It can sometimes block legitimate files, but it's still useful because it can be effective against files that might contain new spyware that definitions are not yet available for. And because of the benefits that it can offer against new threats, antivirus programs have been using these heuristics for years. So personally, I'd leave it on. Now, finally, the default is to create a system restore point before applying any actions to any files that it's detected as being suspect. That way, you can restore your system to the point it was before you attempted to action any affected files. Now, final option here, the administrator heading. Now, the default here is to use this program. And in case you wanted to know, this setting right here is basically what turns Windows Defender on or off. So if for some reason you don't want to use Windows Defender, perhaps you've bought a different product and you want to use that instead, you'd simply uncheck this box and that'll stop the Windows Defender service from running. In fact, let's see that in action. So if I quickly go and open up the Task Manager, and let's just move this over a little bit, and we'll go to our Services tab, and the service that we're looking for is called WinDefend. And we can see that it's currently running. So if we switch back to Windows Defender, I'm going to uncheck this box and click Save. We'll get this message here telling us that this program has been turned off. And back to our Windows Task Manager, we can now see that our WinDefend service has been stopped. So at this point, you're free to use another application if you like. All right, so let's go and click Close here on this window, and that's going to shut down Windows Defender entirely. Now, obviously, at this point, I want to turn Windows Defender back on. So to do that, we'll click Start. We'll type in DEF, and we're going to fire up Windows Defender again. Firstly, we're going to get a message here telling us that it's turned off. And we're also provided with this hyperlink here where we can turn it back on. So let's go and click this hyperlink. And in the background here, you'll see that our WinDefend service has now changed to running. And Windows Defender is now back, providing protection once again. So if we click on Tools, and then Options again, and then choose the Administrator option, the final choice here that we have is to display items from all users on this computer. Now, what Windows Defender does by default is it'll only show you the history, the allowed items, the quarantined items from the user account that you're logged on with for privacy reasons. But if you want to see all of them, then you can check this box. Okay, well, the next option we have here on our Tools page is to join the Microsoft Spynet community. And by default, if we select that, you can see down the bottom that we're not currently enrolled in the Microsoft Spynet program at this time, but we can join with a basic membership or an advanced membership. So what do these two memberships mean? Well, basically a basic membership means that Windows Defender will send Microsoft information about the software that it detects, including where the software came from and any actions that were applied by you or by Windows Defender. Now, it also says that on some occasions, personal information might be unintentionally sent to Microsoft, which a lot of people, including myself, probably won't like, although Microsoft does also claim that they won't use this information to identify you or to contact you. So our second option here is to join with the advanced membership, which is basically the same as the basic one, but it will send some additional information to Microsoft. And of course, it's entirely up to you if you decide to get involved in these options. On one hand, you could choose to help combat spyware by being included in the program, send some information to Microsoft that might help them update or improve their definitions or make the product a little more effective overall. Or you could save a little bit of bandwidth and make your life a little bit more private by doing what I do and not joining the program. Alright, well, the next option we have here in our tools is to take a look at the list of quarantined items that Windows Defender has prevented our computer from running. And from here, obviously you can see right now that I don't have any suspect items that I've downloaded. But if you have applications that have been quarantined, you'll be able to see them in this list here. You'll be able to select them and then choose to either remove it, remove all of them, or simply restore the application if it's something that you know and trust. Now next we've got the ability to explicitly display the items that we've chosen to allow on our computer. And again, like the other window, you can see that by default there aren't any, but any applications that we choose to add will be in here, and then they won't be monitored by Windows Defender. But once you remove them from the list here, they'll then fall under the normal rules and once again be monitored for spyware. Now we also have a link here down the bottom left to visit the Microsoft Windows Defender website, where you can get more information about the product, or you can even download it for Windows XP if you're running Windows XP. But since it comes with both Windows Vista and Windows 7, and any updates to the product, it has been delivered by Windows Update, then having this link probably really isn't that much use to us. Now on the right here, the final option is to visit another section of Microsoft's site, this time their Malware Protection Center, which provides details on the sorts of threats that are out there and what's going on in the malware fight. So go and take a look if you're interested. There's some good information there. Right, well, the next option we'll go and take a look at is History. And as you probably expect, this will show us any files or programs that have been flagged and whether they've been blocked or not. Now, a final option at the top here is to run a scan on our computer. Now, if we just select scan, it's going to run a quick scan. But if we choose the little arrow icon here to the right, from this drop-down menu, we've got options to perform a quick scan, which we did earlier. And a quick scan only scans the areas of your computer that spyware is most likely to affect, things like the registry, your startup programs, and your Windows folders. Now we can also perform a full scan, which obviously scans the whole computer. It's good to do once in a while, but of course that's going to take a lot longer to complete. And finally, we can perform a custom scan where we can choose which drives or folders that we want to scan. So let's choose custom. And do note that when we choose custom, we still get the options here of choosing a quick or a full scan. But it does default to scan selected drives and folders, which is logical. So we'll choose the select button. And then we can select which drives or folders we want to scan. So I could choose to scan my whole C drive if I like, or we could just dig down to a specific folder and scan that. Right, let's just scan the users folder. We'll click OK. And to kick off our scan, we'll need to click the Scan Now button. Now, once we've made our choice and we've clicked Scan Now, Windows Defender is going to go off and begin scanning our computer immediately. But if for some reason you want to stop the scan, we can choose the Cancel button at the top here, and that'll terminate our scan from running. And that's basically it. The Windows Defender anti-spyware program is a simple yet powerful tool that's built into Windows 7, also available as a download for Windows XP. So unless you're running a third-party anti-spyware application, I can't imagine why you'd want to turn this off. If you've ever had spyware on your computer before, you'll no doubt be glad that Microsoft has built Windows Defender into Windows 7 and configured it to run automatically. Now, if you've never had spyware before, you should count yourself lucky, and with the Windows Defender running in the background, hopefully you'll always be lucky enough to enjoy private, safe computing free from this nasty spyware. So we hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'd like to thank you for watching.